born January 17th, 1964 in New West. My nickname for years has been Herbie. My dad had put my brother is almost 6 years older than me, so he'd put my brother in lacrosse. My brother seemed to enjoy the game, so when I came time for me, I think I was 5, and my dad put me in, entered me into lacrosse. Junior, we had a lot of good players. You know, Ben Hilges was a year older than me, so he was on that team. I played with him for a couple of years. Brad Henry and Dale Robertson and guys that played on previously played like for Surrey and stuff like that came to play for us in New West. We had a very strong team. Went to 2 Minto Cups. In '83, we played a round robin with Peterborough and Etobicoke. That was when Adam Oates was on Etobicoke. He showed me that I was a rookie. He came over top of me from our own end, stripped me, or from their end, stripped me, went over top, went down our breakaway. Thankfully, our goalie bailed me out, and I said, okay, he's got a pretty good jump because I wasn't short. Note to self, don't let him do that again. But it was a strong team. The next year, we hosted the Minto Cup and lost to a very strong Whitby team that had Joe Noondag on it. He was their team captain. He was a phenomenal player too. The year we graduated, they made it an expansion team that year out of Richmond because they said it was the strongest draft in quite a few years. So they gave Richmond the top 10 picks in the draft that year for Senior A. And that team stayed there 3 years, I think, or maybe 4, and then we moved to Burnaby. So the Burnaby franchise now was Richmond. So ended up playing with a lot of guys, Jamie Stewart, Stu Watson, Troy Pelzer, and then later on Steve Goodwin and Tony Malcolm, and a bunch of us that all played together, all played Senior A together too. Quite a few guys from junior in New West, and then obviously guys from other teams like Dan Lamond and Donnie McNeil and some guys like that in the early days there. Everyone thought that we were going to be a really strong team, but what they don't realize is when a team gets the top 10 picks in the draft, they're picking mainly talent, and as you know with any team, whether it's hockey, lacrosse, or whatever sport, you need a mix of players. You need the guys, you know, could do a lot of defensive things. So it took us a few years really to get the depth before we could challenge, and it wasn't until after we moved to Burnaby, I think it was probably from 1990 to probably 1993, for 4 years there. I think we went to the Western Finals 3 out of the 4 years then. I played 1 year in a team that most people probably haven't heard of, the Charlotte Cobras. Unfortunately, they were an expansion team and they only lasted 1 year, and probably a week before I was set to leave, I injured my right shoulder quite severely. Had already made arrangements to go down there, so couldn't really tell the team, and I wasn't of much use to them. It was only a 10-game season, and had a tough time down there. A couple years later, ended up calling John and Meridian after getting a call from Dan Stroop about playing for the Ontario Raiders, which was the team that was in Hamilton for 1 year and then was later bought out the following season and became the Toronto Rock. It was great to, especially, you know, being a Canadian, you still love to win the Mann Cup, and as we talked about that, you know, it didn't happen, so having a chance to win the NLL Championship was a lot of fun. It was a great group that they put together in Toronto, and you know, Jimmy Veltman, Colin Doyle, and Pat Coyle, and Dan Stroop, Chris Gill, a lot of good Eastern players that we had on our team too. Bobby Watson in goal. It was a lot of fun to play on the team. I was actually one of the first ones using the plastic, and not by choice. We were playing against New West one game, and the game before I'd broken my only wood stick, and then the next game I broke my hand going into the boards, and I remember being called a name because I went off afterwards by the New West bench because they were calling me a derogatory name. Not that happens in lacrosse. Well, being an offensive guy, it's a lot lighter. I mean, first when we switched over, it was still with a wood shaft, not the light shafts they have nowadays. But even with the wood shaft, it was a lot lighter because the head of the stick, as you know, is quite heavy. So to be able to move that stick around as an old guy, to be able to grab a ball this way and move back and forth, was a lot easier. And then once you went with the even lighter shaft, it's like probably, you know, I would say at least, you know, 1/5 of the weight of what an old stick was. So as an offensive player, a lot easier to move around quickly than to have especially when you compare it to the clubs some of the D guys used to have with the multiple layers of fiberglass that somehow kept on getting on there and getting on there, getting bigger for the D guys to hit you with. But no, it was a lot easier playing with those sticks once you got used to them. I was also involved in the transition from like you said, playing conventional to playing offense defense, and I can't tell you how many people that I talk to that say, you know, offense defense is ruining the game, and I'm always curious. I say, tell me how it's ruining the game. Oh, there's no transition in the game. And my argument is always, what did we do in the old days? We would go out there and play offense, then we play defense, then we come off. I said, where's the transition there? And I said, there's still transition in the game today, depending on who's coaching. I can tell you without a doubt that because I played through the transition from conventional to offense defense, that every team that I played on where we switched from one to the other, we were a better team. For the people that are the naysayers, if you happen to play at the time I did, where you played through both, I can tell you without any doubt that every team that I played on, we were better when we played that way. But that being said, all the teams I played on, the coaches bleed very much in transition. When we were in Toronto, we expected to score 4 to 6 goals a game in transition. That was part of our offense, so which makes a big difference. And then, like I said, there's some coaches that don't believe in transition, which I don't understand, but you know, you're taking away a lot of chances for some strong offense. When I stopped playing professional lacrosse and senior A lacrosse in 2000, I was like a deer in the headlights because the two guys that were coaching Burnaby Senior A, Rob Dick and Scott Swartz, both asked me if I was interested in helping out the senior A's in Burnaby. And I thought, well, at that time I lived about 3 blocks from the arena, and they just want help, maybe power play, that type of thing. So I made the mistake of saying okay. And a couple months later, Rob Dick stepped down from being a coach without telling me. Next thing you know, before being this guy that's going to go down and help out in the power play, I'm a co-coach and then eventually a head coach in Burnaby. So I did that for many years. I walked away from the senior A's. Sheldon Pellador took over. That didn't last long because I talked to Steve Goodwin and himself and Jamie Stewart and Darren London were coaching the intermediates in New Westminster, asked if I wanted to help out there, and I agreed because I figured it wouldn't take too much time. Of course, coaching doesn't take a lot of time, right? So ended up doing that. We had good success. We won the provincials that year. And then we were asked by the senior A's to take over coaching the senior A team. And it was a big decision to make because I'd already done the senior A's, but we agreed as a group to do it. And I think we did 5 years with the Salmonbellies. We played the first night. I think it was our first game of the season. It was Thursday night, and we were short some players, and I think we had some injuries, right-handers and guys that weren't back, NL and stuff like that yet. And so we're sitting there, and Steve Goodwin says to me, he says, "Don't you need one more game for 400 in the WLA?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But don't be crazy." I said, "You know," I said, "Let's figure things out." We went through all these. After he told me, he says, "I can't possibly find anybody. I need you to play." I came up with 3 more other excuses, and they were all fixed. North Shore gave me the release that day and did everything it took to get in there. They had my name bar on, the helmet all ready to go and stuff. And I said to Steve Goodwin that afternoon, I said, "Okay, I know we've figured all these things out. Everything's in place that I can play." I said, "I still don't think we want a 52-year-old out there on the floor." He goes, "Forget it, you're playing." So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I know I can play master still, but I'm not sure I can run around with these young guys. And I get out there and warm up, and I'm doing the pick and rolls and the warm-up drills and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, maybe I can pull this off. And I trust me, I limited my time on the floor and played the game as if I was a coach more than a player, because I refused to try to go to goal and make myself look silly or lose the ball and hurt the team. But I got to admit afterwards, it was a lot of fun being out there.